agarres usted y se agarra, y yo agarro aquí, para que saque el carrito de Ramón y me viene en la medida. ¿Acá? Pues vas acá. Espérame. Ok, sáquelo. Dale. Hay que levantarlo. Mira, pero todo el carro. Jala todo el carro por acá. Súpalo. Ok, subo. La poca pícalo.
I just want to let you know that there are going to be cameras and live stream recording there.
One, two. Test.
We'll wait that's the format. It's just to make sure that everybody who's logging on will be doing it at the right time, so we don't miss out on anybody. Yeah. But for everybody else, I would encourage you to take a moment to turn off your phone or put it on silent. And officiating today's service will be on my microphone. And then we'll start with a few more.
Is the Zoom thing working? Because I'm getting messages from my sister that it's not.
Yeah, it's I'll confirm it. There's 13 people on already.
Jessica says she can hear and see. Yeah, there was a Zoom invite.
She can't get in.
Other people on already know who's that would be.
It's just so weird that the console's like,
You're able to see it in here?
Oh, B is David's mother.
Yes, sir.
You ready? The act of Kriya is as old as biblical times. When a loved one died back then, they would literally tear their clothing and pour ash upon their head. The act comes forward as a black ribbon we wear when there's been a death in the family, to let family and friends know to approach us with sympathy and love as we mourn the loss in our lives. So as I say this prayer afterwards, you can take your fingers and put a small tear in the ribbon. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, dayan ha'emet. Blessed are you, our Lord our God, judge of truth. You may tear your Kriya ribbon. Esayenai el heharim, me'ayin yahavo esri. Esayenai el heharim, me'ayin yahavo esri. The psalmist wrote long ago in those words, I lift my eyes to the mountains, what is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way, your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian, God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and coming now and forever. Our writings teach us a woman of strength, beauty, and kindness who can find. She is more precious than fine gems. Her family loves and depends on her, and so they lack nothing. She does good by them, never harm all the days of her life. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need and extends her hands to everyone. She is clothed in strength and dignity, and she faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on her lips. Her children rise up and bless her. Her family entire sing her praises. Many daughters have done valiantly, but you excel them all. In our sadness today, we celebrate a life lived to its fullest. Jean Block lived an incredible 92 years, just weeks away from her 93rd birthday. She thrived being busy and working almost to the end of her life. There is never really enough time with the ones we love, but living such a full life gives us a perspective on what is most important. Daughter of Max and Frances Rose of blessed memory, beloved wife of David of blessed memory for over 40 years, mother of Sherry, Nanette, Phil and Becky, and the late Stephen, loving grandmother of Cameron, Carson, Jessica, Lindsay, Jacob, Ariel, Jordan, and Dustin, and great-grandmother to Alexa, Zoe, and Riley, and sister to Nancy of blessed memory. May remember Jean in her strength and in her best moments, and all the love she shared with all of you. A poet once wrote, "Oh, the years have passed and my eyes have seen so much. Time has flowed slowly and quickly, the eternal river that it is. I've watched so many of you go from young to old and wondered how you all could grow so, while I remained so young within this old frame, harboring all of my precious memories and thoughts. Gold are the memories of laughter and celebrations. Diamonds are those moments I watched you all flourish and help bring new life into this world. Beyond precious remain those instants surrounded by all of your noise and tussle as we lived life to the very edge of amazement. You've allowed me to paint my blessings in colors of brightness and merriment. Shed no tears for my life lived so well. Just remember me with a smile at all we shared." The Byrds made popular these ancient words of Ecclesiastes when they sang that there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak. And now is the time we speak of Jean's incredible life, as I invite her daughter Sherry to say a few words.
So I wrote down some things mostly for grandchildren who wouldn't have known her as well as could have. So just some things about Mom. So she liked to watch football, but it didn't matter whether it was the Bears or not. She was quite amazed by the ability to throw passes so far and have somebody there to catch it. If it was the Bears versus the Patriots, then we cheered for the Bears. She liked golf, to watch golf, and lately soccer. She thought those were incredible athletes. She also liked to watch Shark Tank, the Antiques Roadshow, Downton Abbey, and Animal Planet, the shows on the zoos. And she liked that heavy rescue show where these big rigs slip off the road in Canada and they have to bring all these big trucks to get them back on. So she liked that. She watched cooking shows, but she never made any of those things. She liked to look at magazines for recipes, for desserts mostly. If she was going to have a family dinner, which had been a while because she was older, she would set the table a week ahead of time, which as the oldest daughter was always my job. And then we would cover up the table with a white sheet to keep it from getting dusty. And then she would label all the serving dishes with a piece of paper in there and the name. But she would still sometimes forget something in the refrigerator. So we always had to check the refrigerator, make sure there was nothing there. She liked going to the opera and going to musicals at the Marriott. She enjoyed gardening, and didn't mind growing plants that had to be deadheaded. You guys know what that is. And she really liked her orchids when they would bloom. She loved her dog Ronnie and thought he was the cutest thing. And even in the hospital when we Zoomed her, if I picked up Ronnie and let him be in the camera, she was always like, "Oh, he's so cute." So she really loved Ronnie. And she loved her Bouillon finches, which she had intermittently since we were little kids. In fact, once one got vacuumed up by somebody who was working in the house. She decided to vacuum out the cage to clean it and sucked up the bird. I don't really remember what happened to that bird. She liked to bring home unusual pets, even though we lived in Lincolnwood, which wasn't exactly rural. So we had a large white rabbit named Mary Poppins, which I did try to take for a walk around the block once, but that didn't work out. We had 3 ducklings in the backyard. She thought a few of them would die because the kids were supposed to be taking care of them. That was us, but they all lived. We had flying squirrels, or so they were called. We had a chinchilla, Nanette had a chinchilla. We had a raccoon named Mask, and this was still in Lincolnwood. She enjoyed needlepoint and made several belts for people, which there's a problem if anybody wants to make a belt, because if you don't keep your weight the same, you're out of luck. She also did crewel embroidery, and I have a big thing in the office of an owl that she did. It's really quite amazing. She enjoyed playing mahjong, and she did have a teaching class with Ariel, Vince, and me at their apartment. And she loved playing with her friends before COVID when they would come over, or she'd go to their place and they would play some and then talk and eat and just have a wonderful time. So we did it online with using a conference sort of call, and wasn't as much fun, but she managed to do that. So she was proud of her work at the office and always wanted to be on time, even though there really wasn't a set time that she had to be there. She was very particular about the way certain things were done and didn't want to relinquish those jobs to anybody else. And finally, though, she loved her children and her grandchildren. And she was very proud of everybody. Although I would say that she and I both would have trouble understanding what most of you guys do. Maybe someday you'll explain it to me. That's all.
Thank you all for sharing the memories in life that helped me put this together. Born in Chicago on the north side, Jean grew up and attended Evanston High School. She graduated from Northwestern University and went on to teach special education at Parkview Private School in Morton Grove. Afterwards, she spent 35 years working at the Country Court Animal Hospital as their business manager. And Sherry, as you spoke about, she loved working with you as your office manager for over 20 years. You loved that she would always call and say, "I'm going to be late." It's like, "Mom, there's no late. You can come in anytime." "I'm going to be late. I'm a few minutes late." She loved keeping herself active and sharp. Jean met David in high school before he went off to war. Nana B set them up. She had a picture of Jean at her salon, knit and curl, and always showed the picture to people with eligible sons. He was quite ahead of her times in both running a business in her 40s and as a matchmaker. Jean and David were married at the Drake Hotel and spent an incredible life together for over 40 years before David died way too young. Phil, you remembered fondly how your mom would take you all to a hotel during the summertime so you could go swimming. And Annette remembered her mom bailing her out of trouble all the time, always there to come to her rescue. She remembered her once coming down to Glencoe Beach and catching her in the middle of a school day while she played hooky. And Phil, you all loved to travel to Vegas, where your mom loved to play cards and smoke a cigar once in a while. Jean loved the warm weather and loved tanning. She loved going to Florida and staying in Siesta Key. She would often spend a few weeks down there every year. Jean was always up for an adventure and loved traveling. Sherry, you remember taking road trips and just driving down a road to the end of the line just to see where it ended. And Jean always knew her way back. Sherry, you explained how your mom always had wanted to go whitewater rafting, but you drew the line at the rapids. You did raft down the Colorado River once, but exited the trip before hitting the rapids. As you mentioned, Jean loved watching sports on television, especially golf or boxing. She loved yelling at the television during a good boxing match. In Mahjong, she especially loved playing with Ariel. As all the grandchildren grew up, Jean loved when they were old enough to carry on a conversation and join her in so many different activities. Jean had such a large and generous heart. So many times she would stop in the parking lot of Old Orchard when she saw an elderly lady who couldn't find her car. She would invite her into her car and drive around with her until they found the woman's car together. She would always stop to help strangers in need whenever the opportunity presented herself. It's just who she was. She loved shoes. Macy's was always Marshall Fields to her. Sherry, you remember getting your mom her first pair of jeans for your trip to Arizona. Since your mom's generation, women never wore pants. Jean loved crazy parties and celebrating holidays with the whole family. You all remembered her dressing as Mary Poppins one Halloween, and on another, Jean, Aunt Nancy, and Maureen driving around the neighborhood to find a construction cone to steal so Dustin could have it to perfect his costume. We all wish to live the best life we know how, surrounded by the people who mean the most to us. For Jean, she loved keeping busy and staying active and being surrounded by all of you. May Jean's memory always be a blessing. May you remember her and her strength and health, and may her love live on in all of you. Merritt Malloy once wrote, "When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men who wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother and sister walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved, and if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away." We turn together in the pamphlet and we read the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We continue with El Malei Rachamim, the memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamse Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Torim, Kizohara Kiyamasirim, Et Nishmati Sharonai, Shalachal Olama, Vala Rachamim Yastereha, V'Seita Kanafav Lolamim, V'Yitzur Bitra HaChaim Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachlata, V'Tanuach B'Shalom, Al Mishkava V'Nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Jean Block, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence and in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. We continue with the Mourner's Kaddish, which is also in your pamphlet. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divra chirotei v'yamlich malchotei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayedechol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'yamaru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha barichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata, Damiran be'oma v'yamaru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'yamaru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'yamaru, Amen. May God grant peace to those who mourn and comfort to all bereaved among us as we say together, Amen. As we continue with the vaulting, I invite everyone to pray silently while I sing. Olam chesed yibanen. Yala la la la, yala la la. Olam chesed yibanen. Yala la la la, yala la la. Olam chesed yibanen. Yala la. La la